He just stood. It wasn't worth piling onto the poor couch even more. The planning hadn't been there to see the groggy game of musical chairs, and you were still waiting for him even then. God stared at the time on his phone, clenching it every minute closer to 9. Jude squished against him, rubbed his fiance's back. As welcoming as the two had been, almost walking on eggshells to make sure nothing felt troubling, you were still aware of how tight the deadline was, and they had to be feeling the pressure. When the clock struck 9, there was a knock on the door. Confused glances out from Miranda's end of the couch down to your side, each person wondering if everyone else heard that. Who's there? The door swung open in response. Good morning, everyone. There he was. Shoes, shiny. Suit, fresh pressed. Hat, swoop, just so with no strand out of place. Grin, granite sharp. He looked even more self-posed than at the restaurant. Obviously, this Baxter Ward was perfectly capable of functioning before noon. The overly grand way of speaking, the difficulty with mornings, the monochrome style, and decided to befriend everyone he met. None of his most recognizable characters seemed to have lasted. It's as if it wasn't even him. It's a robot. Hey, what's up? Good morning. He just stood there quietly.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for coming. God scrambled to hide his phone with one hand and used the other to keep from losing his glasses in haste. And something happened. And Baxter's smile curved playfully. His eyes narrowed. He blinked rapidly, almost expecting the white streaks to materialize in his hair. This is my office. There's few other places I could go. Well, that attitude was familiar at least. Flawlessly poised, Baxter strode to the other half of the room and took a seat in the rolling office chair opposite the couch. He used the tips of his feet to smoothly twist the chair's position, so it faced the room completely. Now we know why we're here. I believe we should begin. Nods and low murmurs of agreement followed, until the entire room started from a sounding shout. Terry smacked himself against the side of his head. Oh wait! All eyes were on him. Terry beamed, keeping his attention squarely on Baxter. Since you missed everything, I've got to tell you that I'm a guy.
Of course.
Of course. I understand. Thank you for talking about that with me. Cool. He sprang forward on the footstool.
Yeah.
And I used a Y in Terry, not an I. Then Terry slowed down from the second rapid interjection. He rolled his hand through the air as if to say carry on. I will remember that. Baxter retrieved a notepad and pen from his inner jacket pocket. So, normally, I'd love to hear as much about you two as you're willing to share. Although I'm aware we have a schedule to keep to. I'll stick to what's most relevant to the task at hand. I will still need to ask as many questions. You'll need to bear with me. It's important that to have all the specifics and make certain that we're on the same page. I never want to simply assume I know what you want. Instead, I want you to say for yourselves what your hopes and plans are. What your hopes and plans and ideas are. What do you mean? We've made that mistake before. Got messed with his ponytail. He chuckled at some private thought. It perked back to smile. There was an interest beyond mere polite attention. Oh? The little hint continued to continue, didn't go unheard. In fact, God was just glad that my god. The little hint to continue didn't go unheard. God was just that kind of person. If there was an opening to talk, he would fill it. Gladly.
The thing is,
when we were still long dating, actually, starting from before we were even dating, I'd always go on about getting my nose pierced. At least once a year ever since I knew him. I talked to Jude how this time I was actually going to do it. Eventually, Jude stopped being so convinced I was going to do it on my own. He told me if I seriously had one, he would do it too. And we could match.
Well,
I did, and he did. Definitely in other states, and you can see for yourself that we had different ideas on what getting a gold nose ring meant. Yep, that was plain as the noses on the face. Jude had a gold horseshoe in his septum, meanwhile, I had 2 golden hoops in one nostril. Now we have almost matching nose rings. Scott clapped his palms on Kenz's knee, ending the tale on that note. Jude's belling laugh followed immediately.
It's good.
I like our almost matching nose rings. And hey, now we've got real matching rings. He flicked his left hand to show off the distinct black band. The 2 men had identical engagement rings. Reminds me of Baxter's rings. Unable to resist temptation, Scott filled Jude's open hand with his own. Jude cast him back. They were a delightful couple. Even a pro like Baxter could see it.
Charming.
That is absolutely charming. Not to mention a good reminder. Not to mention a good reminder that even if something doesn't go exactly as planned, that does not mean it's bad at all. But of course, I'll do what I can make the day everything you're dreaming of. Take like the pen out. Just start off, how we thought of possible surname. Are either of you going to take the others, use hyphenations, or not make changes, or so on?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Scott's last name. Adam. Yeah. Okay. Mr. and Mr. Adam it is. Baxter quietly vocalized the official name while jotting down his first name on the session. And what do you have finished already? A venue and food. My cousin is a photographer, so that's covered. It's a caterer that we actually have. There's no wedding cake or any desserts, actually. Not that we need it. Who's gonna start off without cake? Her Varden. Thank goodness he wasn't there to listen to such blasphemy. Almost nothing is technically needed to be legally married. But if we can have it, why didn't we? Sure, if there's any time. Going back and forth, trading comments and remembering points. The other hand, huddled close on the couch. It was like watching a meeting between 2 kings and a semi-villainous advisor. Unfortunately, in the moment, they're comparable to kings coming from different countries, and rather than ruling one together. Their approaches were not the same. The final guest list is done, invitations are already sent.
Mm-hmm.
We've got speakers for music.
and?
There's no live band or DJ, just a playlist. And the ceremony and reception take place in one room. We have a runner, a podium for the ceremony. The location comes with chairs and tables, but there aren't a lot of decorations done. Leaning closer and listening closer, Baxter pressed 2 fingers to his chin. Do you know what you'll be wearing? Scott's face ping-ponged together between his planner and fiancé. He stalled. We've got the suit.
It's not great.
Suits we already own, he means. It's nothing special. We haven't bought or rented anything for the wedding. But what we have would work if there's no other way.
I see.
I see. Baxter paused himself there, considering. A picture was beginning to form in his mind. Are there any traditions or extra touches you'd like to include in either ceremony or the reception? I don't know. 5 minutes in, and Scott was already sighing. He pressed his glasses higher on his face.
Oh.
If you could tell, we haven't gone far enough to consider anything extra. We're short on major parts still. The office chair creaked as Baxter rested against it. The gesture was disarming, physically pulling back from the non-stop questioning.
Bravo.
At first, let me say what you've already taken care of is commendable. My job is going to be far easier. You and Scott were absolutely flattered. Someone in Baxter's position had good things to say about the situation. With how much they put into that big day, getting some positive feedback must have been a real treat. They smiled shyly to one another. I'd like you to get me the contact info for the venue and caterer when you can. I'll put in the group chat. Excellent. You go on this meeting on the right foot, intentionally so. Baxter pivoted to his next move.
It's doable.
Second, there should be a space to finish multiple tasks with the space we have, and second, there should be space to finish multiple tasks with the time we have, and the amount of people who can assist. So let's prioritize and delegate. Designs and decorations are the foremost. Then, if there's room for anything else to be done, possibly selecting new clothing for the occasion. Is that what I'm hearing? Yes! Sure. Throughout the extended interview, you, Terry, and Miranda had been silent. John, you might have very well forgotten that you were in the room. At that point, your job was to listen. You'd only act once the decisions were ready to be put into action. But watching Baxter work as a professional planner was surreal. It was a surreal experience. He seriously did what he look like he knew what he was doing. He was asking the right questions, reading the room. Baxter's skills had grown considerably since helping with Miranda's birthday party. We've already got stuff we were working on at our place. We're making a guest favors. No clue where we would get a cake.
It's true.
Me neither. I've tried. But how do I know they're any good at it? Who puts a wedding cake... Who orders a wedding cake before their wedding? Being able to make the desserts doesn't mean you can do it that decently. If you're willing to take recommendations, I am acquainted with a baker. Xavier comes highly recommended by my previous clients. I can vouch for them personally. Did you get your wedding cake from them? What a question. Commented with complete sincerity. He has no ring. Ah, so?
No.
I'm unmarried. At the moment, entirely single, in fact, but I would hire them for my own if I did have the occasion. You didn't know what the perception was of an unwed party plan. You didn't know what the perception was of unwed wedding planners. And Baxter wasn't flushed by the circumstances regardless. He wasn't seeing anyone. He chuckled amiably. It smoothed out the mild bump right over for. The Scot hadn't even registered the pitfall. That was barely avoided. He was excited, getting excited. Things were finally coming along. Alright, we'll go there. What are we gonna get? We can discuss it. Yeah, how long is it gonna take? Can we order today? The pressure Baxter intentionally released was laid on extra thick, with Jude's cut to the finish take on the bakery. That is possible, since time is of the essence. You wouldn't be able to take your tasting session. That means you'd have to trust the flavors will be to your liking.
In that case...
Getting common or familiar options would be my suggestion. But you can certainly try something more unique if your heart's sound. Are there any allergies we need to consider?
That's whatever.
No, that's whatever. Get chocolate or some vanilla. In this case, Baxter didn't accept the first answer he received. Baxter's keen eyes went to Jude, the other half of the second opinion. It's Scott Gold.
I don't know.
I don't know what else to pick off the top of my head. We can think a little longer. Baxter kept his tone approachable, harmless. He was having doubles as a therapist, gently coaxing clients to speak their mind. No. I really don't know. We should get chocolate and vanilla. Everyone will like that. That's fine. It's a classic, chocolate and vanilla. The note was taken down. Baxter pressed firmly into the paper at one point. A period.
What do you think?
But do you have any design notes? Normally that would be done with Baker, but again, limited schedule. I imagine you don't want to sit down and get acquainted with someone new. We can have the details prepared ahead of time to expedite the process. What design does a cake need? That depends on you. Cakes can come in any style you can imagine, and many more styles you would never think of on your own. Scott almost leaped from his seat over the topic. Maybe he would dive. Scott almost leapt from his seat over the topic. Maybe he would have if he wasn't so pressed in all sides.
That's true.
That's true. I saw lots of pictures when looking up bakeries. They can be so cool. You'll make 3D carved cakes into the shapes of things. It doesn't have to look like a cake at all. There are a few opportunities in life where you could justify spending a lot of money on an incredible cake. The prospect of that time being now got more excited about flying than anything else so far. You can even get a cake that's a car. Seriously, a car with walking headlights and everything. Jude loves his car more than me some days. Only a few weeks out of the year. You get me most of the time. They shared a laugh. The meeting was becoming friendly. More fun. Two of them could enjoy the process past the stress of it.
Not
Except-
happening.
But again, a cake car isn't gonna work. No one could do it. Unfortunately, Jude was correct on that count. Baxter's recommended baker had to be good. However, humans could only do so much. A custom confection vehicle, in a matter of days, with no prior notice, was asking for there to be no cake at all. In fact, making cupcakes the night before an event looked like a piece of cake. Perhaps a compromise is in order. For example, a typical day cake with some model decorations. Who's gonna notice? And Baxter lowered his pen. The positive momentum had been lost. This does need to be wrapped up under a stressful timeline. However, there is room to still have it what you actually want. I want a cake that you can eat. I want that too. It doesn't need to be fancy stuff. We're not fancy people.
Very well.
I see. Future Adams might not have been particularly prissy, but as a bona fide fancy man himself, Baxter was personally insulted by the repeated dismissiveness of all formalities. At least he would have been 5 years ago. Huron had no idea what he was thinking now. His expression was inscrutable. It was only clear that he continued paying close attention. Well, I won't pressure you to do more than you'd like, but I think we should at least pick a couple of words to denote the overall theme. Traditional, vintage, modern, and such. Finished and not ugly. Jude wouldn't bite no matter how appetizing the treats. Baxter reevaluated his approach. Those should go without saying, with his baker. If it doesn't matter particularly to you, is that a problem, Scott? Do you have a preference? I want something that seems modern. Old-fashioned cakes are not my style. Or in less diplomatic terms, the sight of frou-frou buttercream piping might have made him break out of the hives despite the lack of allergies. Absolutely. That's the approach. Well, it's the actual presentation. Simplistic, excellent. Simplistic, elegant, floral, beachy.
Would that be alright?
Could it be simple and elegant? Scott thoroughly scratched the stubble along his jaw. As his gaze wandered, that combination of descriptors was one of those possibilities. He couldn't even imagine, apparently.
Certainly.
Then that, right? He glanced to Jude instinctively. As submissive as Jude had been about the cake, Scott remained hopeful his partner would feel positive about it. Perfect, Scott. Jude meant it. Even if that wasn't what Scott wanted, it was enough. I'm glad you think so. In that case, since you're thinking of keeping it simple and prioritizing flexibility, I can visit the bakery for you to make the request. You have other obligations to take care of, I imagine. I can confirm the budget through text when I get a quote. You know the amount of tiers you'd want? You tell us. You've seen how big our party is.
Alright.
I can certainly give my take. For a wedding your size, I would suggest 3 tiers at least.
Done.
Done.
Guess so.
Yes, sir? That's good. We're gonna have wedding cake. Compared to how enthusiastic Scott started out the outset of the topic, conclusion was like a cake that didn't get baking powder mixed in the batter. Flat. Still, it seemed any cake would do. Literally and metaphorically. You didn't care, and Scott wouldn't push it. Baxter's planning abilities had been tested there, and the only one who came out fully satisfied was Jude.
I can do that.
I believe I have everything I need at the moment. I can put in that order for you today. Thank you for so much help. But somebody should go with you to be sure. I can do it. Would the rest of you be good at making party favors? Probably. Amazingly, the single-worded response with a shrug didn't fill with confidence.
I'm not sure.
Maybe somebody else should go to the bakery. Dude. He can handle it. We've got a planner, so he can do his things and we can do our things. With friction of disagreement didn't frazzle Mr. Ward, he calmly interjected with a suggestion. If the two of you are the most informed about guest favors, then someone who doesn't know the process as well could attend the bakery with me. Jude is right, you know. Jude is right, you know. You are lucky to have others here to assist. It isn't just me alone. We can share the responsibilities. Oh no. Baxter didn't know the implications of what he was saying, due to the inevitable position of filling him in. The only person who has no idea what's happening is Callie. The cornfield expression Baxter had so persistently maintained dropped immediately. His gaze started to you for a single instant. It was the first time he had acknowledged your presence in the room the entire morning. Oh. Baxter blinked. There said the position of his eyes to focus on his clients. His smile returned as well, like nothing happened. That's up to the rest of you to decide. Naturally, I can work with your circumstances. It doesn't have to be Callie. Anyone can do it if they want to. This was not the direction you expected or wanted to go. Either way, being singled out as the best person on the team to have one-on-one time with the planner, and having the facts be doubted because of your history you had. Seeing him at all and having to hear his voice was one thing. Being required to work in a group towards the same goal was another. But being entirely alone with Baxter was a cruel joke. Why did any of this happen? As if the world was enjoying tormenting you. Quickly before Terry and Brandy could swoop in to tackle the assignment, he spoke out. It's fine. If that's what would be easiest, that's what we should do.
You're sure?
Really? Thank you very much.
We owe you.
We owe you. Miranda kept her mouth shut on the matter. Miranda kept her mouth shut on the matter, only offering an understanding smile. Terry saluted you for your services on the line of fire. Baxter grinned past you in an artificial way. Baxter grinned past you in an entirely artificial way. It's settled. A few more minor details were laid out before the end of the meeting was officially called. You had to exit the building in one group, then split off into the parking lot. The main team of Scott, Jude, Miranda, and Terry was going to spend the entire afternoon on guest favors, while your branch had the task of arranging a cake. Baxter directed the way to go, separating from the crowd first. You had to give fast farewells before catching up with your partner for the operation. And Baxter led you to the back of the lot, and approached what you had assumed was his car. Somehow, as you got closer to it, you could have guessed it was Baxter's. It was sparkling white, not a single scratch, scuff, or speck of dirt. Once the door was opened, the interior, however, was floor to ceiling black. And this is the inside of Baxter's current car. A very snazzy, I will say, indeed. I do actually like his new car, but the rental will always have a place in my heart. Because it was pretty cool to have as a car, obviously. What else would it be? Yeah. So, without further ado, we shall hop right back into it. Black and white. Another coincidence, perhaps? Or were there too many of those at this point for it to be happenstance? And Baxter eased the C-bar across his chest and addressed his passenger. You. It was discomforting. Being so committed to maintaining a defined distance when it was no longer an option, he didn't touch on the change. Instead, he behaved as if he was always an employee in your service.
So,
Welcome to my vehicle. Please change the temperature and air direction to your liking. The radio works. I'll leave it off, but of course you can put on some music if you want. Baxter's face kept straight ahead, eyes on the road. And he hadn't even started driving yet. How unprofessional. You could watch him as much as you wanted. Right up close, and you did. The V mark on his neck was close enough to touch. That was him. Baxter Ward. It was you and Baxter, sitting alone in a car for 5 years, and a promise that you would never see each other again. And he certainly wasn't going to acknowledge even a hint of that on his own. He was certain of it.